Today I'm refinishing this bar. Both the tile and the wood is not just outdated, it's very unappealing. We want to go rich, dark, earthy colors. So the first thing with any project is prep your substrate. Start with cleaning. I am cleaning with my hair apparently. Note to self, bun it or ponytail it. That's not good. But I'm cleaning with crud cutter for the tile. And the wood, I am using a deglosser, which is a liquid sander. This will gum up and emulsify your existing varnish, so your product will adhere into it. It gives it good tooth. And when all that dries, then I go right to bonding. I am using XIM, which is the best bonder for any ulterior substrate like tile, glass, metal. And I'm just going to go ahead and use that same bonder right down on the cabinets. I do if they're highly varnished. It's oil-based. It's not latex, so you do need to clean up with mineral spirits. And then after the bonder is applied, I go right to my first coat. Now, this is our base coat. I am using the same base color on both the tile and the cabinetry. So I'm going to carry it right down to the wood. And you'll see in the finish that they'll be separated. But for now, this is going to integrate them. This is going to give us a continuity and tie it all in together. When that dries, I'm going to give my attention right to that grout. I've got a dark chocolate brown glaze, which is 50% color paint, latex, and 50% latex glaze. So because it's not opaque, it works like a good stain in that grout, and I just kind of rub it in there just to stain it. I've left the grout texture on there, so it just looks like a whole new grout, not painted. And I burnish it on the tile to just smoke it up and give me some depth. And I'm cleaning up any overlay, as you can see, that's on the wood. And I'm just using water on a wetting a paper towel with water. So while that's drying, then I'm going to go and get another coat on my cabinetry. Cutting in and rolling. I micro roll it because it gives me such a nice, smooth finish. I don't want to see any brush strokes. This is a nice enamel paint, so it is like a top coat. It is enamel. We're not going to seal it after this, so I just want this a perfect, smooth finish. And while oak is pretty textury, this helped hide that. We filled in the creases really well, and it's just a great finish. So I'll follow that through on all my wood. I'm going to tape off anything around the wall. This is to ensure that I don't have to waste my time being careful in these areas when I'm finishing that tile, because I'm going to move pretty quick. So I'm going to use a sponge, and I do not like a sponge finish to look like a sponge, so I am cutting in, as I always do, big organic shapes and grooves and pits in it. And then I'm going to mix my glaze. I am using a nice light color. So the base was a mid-tone. I got a smoky chocolate finish over it. And now I'm going to a lighter taupey color. And I mixed it with a latex glaze, bare, but I also kept some, as you could see in that lid, full strain, because what I'm going to do is kind of alternate between the two, so I get full color and then smokier, mistier, finer colors in that same hue. I'm going to burnish it on and then stipple it on. Each tile I am making as organic as possible. Not one is going to look like the other because we really want this to look like stone. I don't want this to look like a manufactured tile. I want it to look very earthy, and some will have heavier and lighter strains of color. And again, just optically looking at it and see what's appealing to me. Keeping it varied in color, varied in texture, and follow it through so absolutely every one of these tiles gets hit with that color. Looks a little flat, but then when we come in with every layer of color, you will see it'll start building a nice depth that stone does have. So we've got mid-tone, and now we've got the light, and now I'm coming in with that chocolate dark glaze that I used for the grout, which stained the grout, but came out a little lighter. But now I'm coming in, I'm stippling it in. It's still going to look flat, but that's okay because I know I've got another layer coming in over it to really integrate it all together. But this is, again, giving me variation and layered colors, which is stone has such a depth to it, and that's what I want to achieve here. And I like the distribution. I think it's got a very nice organic nature. So while that's drying, I am going to give my attention back down to the cabinets. We're going to antique them. So I am wetting my paper towels with mineral spirits. While that was a latex enamel paint, I am going to use I'm going to use oil-based glaze. And I'm going to apply it with a chip brush and just use wet paper towels to clean up around the glaze. So mixing my colors, I'm mixing the darkest brown with black. Black can be cold and harsh. Just adding a little bit of brown, it'll still look like a black glaze, but it'll warm it. So it's very rare that I use just straight up black. And I'm mixing my glaze 50-50 ratio, glaze to colorant, oil-based paint, and oil-based glaze. Do not mix up latex and oil. You'll find out why if you try. It will not work. So I wet my substrate with the mineral spirits, and this allows my glaze to just roll on, brush on, but it just rolls right into there so smooth. Gives me just a nice, clean, deep coverage in that groove. I do not ever worry about getting it up on the substrate, on the raised panel of the substrate, because I'm just going to wipe that off. I concentrate on getting a nice, deep, clean line, and then just angling my finger right so I don't pull the glaze right out of that crease. I will then just clean up around it. And that's a nice, clean antiquing. It's nice and rich. And I'll follow this through with every raised panel and all the doors. And let that dry. Then I move my attention right back up to the tile. You can see the upper level of the counter is done. And I left it so you could see the difference side by side. It is just a much more beautiful finish. It doesn't look flat and painted as it does now. And I do this by taking, this is back to my base coat of paint, that same color, mixing it with a glaze, so it's 50-50 ratio, it's translucent, so it is the same continuity of color, but it's lighter, it allows me to have that show through of other colors, integrating them all together, and the depth this gives this is just so ideal for the look of stone. After that dries, I am using a matte top coat. This is Varathane. I love this top coat. It is durable. It will protect our finish, but nothing looks more fake than having this high gloss sheen, unless you're doing like a polished marble look and that's what you want. But this, I want this to look like just a nice, earthy stone, and matte is the way to go. I want no shine on this. So I'm going to follow this through. I'm taking it right in the grooves. I'm pulling it, cross-hatching it, just making sure I hit every angle, because there is a slight texture to some of the stippled areas, and there was on this tile, it wasn't slick. There were some crevices and whatnot in it. So I'm just kind of cross-hatching this top coat on to just really make sure I'm filling it in. And I concentrate on each tile and move on, because if you just go over and over the same area, you can pull up that top coat and leave an odd sheen to it, which we don't want. We want nice, good coverage. And it's as simple as that. We went from an outdated orangey oak and pinkish peachy tile to this. This is a beautiful piece of furniture now. We'll find some nice knobs to put on it, and that will upscale it a little bit. And then another thing, which, depending what you want to invest in a finish like this, the sink. A nice new sink and fixture could upgrade it even further. But this was a cost issue. I think we pulled it off without having to go to that extra step.